Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse and I am back for another channel update and kind of a cool accessibility topic video. So before we get into the main accessibility topic, why I kind of wanted to record this, I want to just give a few personal and channel updates and such. Hope everybody had a good holiday season, whether you spent it with family, friends, or alone, or whatever. I really didn't do too much here. Um, it was friggin' cold around Christmas, so I talked to my mom on Christmas Eve, and she's like, "Yeah, it's probably better you didn't even come back because we wouldn't have been able to do anything anyway." I think she said that day or the day before, it was literally like, what was it, 60 below with wind chill, and it was like hovering around 55 below that and around then when I was talking to her. And then here, it was like 33 below. So it's like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. I'm shacked up in my little cave here, and I am perfectly happy about that. So, got a couple little munchies for Christmas and made some stuff in the oven just to have some pretty good food. So, you know what? Just a chill way to enjoy the holiday. It worked perfectly for me. So, yeah, hopefully everyone had a good holiday. If you are new to the channel, everything is divided into playlists here, and I cover a variety of different things. So, I cover low vision gaming, mainstream games I play as a legally blind player, blind accessible games for PC, console, iOS, try to cover however I can. VR accessibility, VR games and experiences, hardware reviews, assistive technology, a couple Let's Plays here and there, um, stream archives. I'm kind of taking a hiatus, but you can follow me on twitch.tv/illegally cited as well. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in the playlist, so check those out. Game accessibility, I have some good game accessibility, VR accessibility videos. Even like I've done several presentations and podcast appearances on gaming and VR and technology accessibility, and I have a playlist for that, so definitely check those out. So yeah, thank you to everybody who has been supporting and following the channel, whether you've been here a couple weeks or a couple years or since the beginning. Can't believe I've been doing this for over 10 years. That's really kind of crazy. But yeah, so thank you again to everybody. And far as channel updates go, we just, again, we just wrapped up 2022. It still feels weird to say it's 2023 right now. Haven't quite gotten used to that yet, but we have all of my kind of 2022 year review, wrap up, recap, whatever you want to call it. Did some videos there. So took a look at, some games, mainstream games, accessible games, accessible apps, just highlights of the year in general, a little bit of a look at this year, yeah, that kind of thing. I just did a hardware review because right around Christmas, I also got my little toy there, as you see on the channel page here in the background, my analog pocket. Fun little expensive, but if you have a lot of Game Boy or Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance cartridges around, and you want to be able to play them on a really nice, modern handheld gizmo, the Analog Pocket is maybe not a bad way to go. I'm enjoying it so far. So check that video out. The video seems to be doing quite well so far. So yeah, I've done a couple of accessible game videos, PC and iOS, and I know I've had few people actually requesting Evidence 111. Trust me, the video is already recorded. I'm thinking that's probably going to be Monday's video unless something else crazy happens. Because again, I'm just trying to spread out some of the accessible games a little bit since there aren't quite as many. I'm not sure if this is going to be a bonus video as I'm recording it on a Friday, or if I'm just going to wait and have this to be Saturday's video. I haven't made that decision just yet. But yeah, otherwise, like I said, Evidence 111 is coming, and I do have a few other games, especially iOS games, that I have been finally getting around to playing. I've kind of haven't been playing as much on the PC or consoles quite as much the last couple of weeks, and I've been trying to get around to playing some more games on my phone because, oh boy, I've got so many apps and games on my phone that I've got to, I mean, I have the space, but it's like I gotta clean the fridge out a little bit. I gotta try and organize, and maybe if there's something I don't really care for or whatever, play it, try it, maybe do a video for it, and then keep it, trash it, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've been playing a few different mobile games, and they are voiceover accessible. So again, expect more of that stuff coming. I do have one or two PC games that are accessible as well that I hope to be trying out here and letting people know about. So yeah, like I said, there's accessible content coming. And then, of course, there's just all kinds of games, all those games that got delayed from 2022. Yeah, they're going to be coming out in the first, like, God, the first 6 months of 2023 just seem loaded. I mean, I can't even come close. I'm not even going to try to think of all the games that are supposed to. I mean, who knows how many of them will get delayed until later this year or even next year. But if all of them or a good majority of them do come, my wallet is going to be feeling some pain, as will a lot of other people's. So yeah, there's going to be a lot to look forward to. And now that I have both modern consoles. I have a PS5 and I have an Xbox Series S. So if you uh, are curious about either one of those, I do have hardware reviews and accessibility, or hardware reviews slash accessibility videos for both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series S. So, as these consoles are maybe you're going to be able to have a little bit easier time finding them in the stores now. So it might even be possible to get one. Um, Check out those if you want to learn more about either one of those accessibility. And I'm able to stream the Xbox and the PS5 to my PC. So if I need to be able to cover anything, we should be good there. So yeah, more stuff coming that way. Speaking of the PC saga, so I'm hoping things are kind of coming to a close here. I think it's not my ultimate decision or it's not my ultimate choice, but I think I have a pretty final idea of what I'm going to go with. Now, I know some people may not agree with me, but you know what? I think it's probably what I'm going to go through. Like, I have the core machine spec'd. I've had that spec for probably a month or better now. And so yeah, I'm gonna have an Intel machine. I've just never had really good luck with AMDs. I've tried them. I had two AMD machines in the past, and there's just always been some weird quirk with them. So I'm like, you know what? Intel and Nvidia, I've just never really had issues with. So I've got everything else configured, but the main stumbling point was, of course, this stupid video card. And the 4090, the 4080s, they came out last year. And NVIDIA was charging an arm and a leg and half of your soul, maybe sacrifice a loved one, whatever it takes, just get that video card. But yeah, they're just, they have the suggested retail price for the Founders editions of those, but those seem to be in such limited supply and not everybody carries them. And like I said, I'm having one. I'm probably going to have this machine just built for me through Micro Center. I've been talking to a guy the last couple months, and I think, like I said, I think we've got everything pretty well figured out. But I just, 1,200 for a 4080 minimum. That's a lot of dough. Could I afford it? Yeah, I could. But man, just the principle of the thing, like that's just stupid. Especially, knowing what the 4090 or like the 3090, 3080, everybody just whether it's Apple or Nvidia or whoever, Oculus, they're just like, well, let's see if we can just keep jacking things up a little more. It's like the Quest 2, it came out at like $300. And normally you would think, oh, the thing has been out for a little while, the price will drop. No, no, we're going to raise the price by $100 because that's how things work now. So, like I said, the Founders Editions are 1200, but really when I was looking around, I really couldn't find any for under like 1300 or more. Um, because you have all the other third-party manufacturers that make these boards or that make these video cards. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay $1,400 just for a video card, especially when I want to have a high-end machine as it is. Um, it's going to be an expensive machine as it is. So I was waiting until the 4070s or whatever they were going to be called to come out. Turns out earlier this week, the 4070 Ti is going to be released, or it is out now technically. So again, not the greatest value. Um, but basically, these remember when they were announcing the two versions of the 4080? You had the 12 gig and the 16 gig version. Yeah, well, basically, it's the same exact card. It's just they rebranded it as it should have been from the beginning. So the 4070 Ti is a 12 gig card, and it's gotten decent. It's got decent reviews, but people are still just not happy with the price, and it's not really super worth it. But even third-party versions of it are not much over because there is no Founders Edition of the 4070. So you're just going to have basically your third-party vendors making them. And I've seen a couple for right the manufacturer suggested retail price, which is like $800. I've seen a couple for that price. I've seen a couple for like 820. So that's not so bad. I mean, going from 1400 down to like 800 or a few dollars more, saving 400 or 500 bucks or better. Yeah, um, sure. Because the many really what people are complaining, like you watch all these hardware reviews and you got to remember, people are comparing these things 4K gaming, maybe 1440p, but like, oh, they don't run 4K and blah blah blah. I have a 1080p monitor. I don't care about 4K. Even if I were to get a new monitor, I might opt for a 1440p or even a 1080p monitor. Like if I could find an OLED or something, like I remember now, like CES is happening this week, and I guess Dell had announced some sort of really high-end. It's a 1080p monitor, but it's like super low latency. And so I'm kind of curious to see what that might be all about because again, I've said this before. Give me a frame rate any day over like, yeah, graphic fidelity, yeah, that's great, that's important, sure. But I want my games to run fluidly. I would much rather have them run smoothly and fluidly. And even if they weren't quite as flashy, it's fine. Like 1080, I don't have a problem with 1080p. It's fine. I'm sitting in front of a 24-inch monitor. 1080p is fine for me. So I'm waiting to hear back from my tech guy for an updated quote. But I think if everything goes well, hopefully we can get this sucker built, and within the next month or so, maybe I will have uh, an updated gaming rig again. So then everything will be complete. I'll have my Switch. I got my Switch OLED, my PS5, my Series S, and hopefully an updated gaming rig. And I'll still have this bad boy for backup and for other means in the background or whatever. I mean, like I said, I can't. This machine has been so reliable. It's seen me through so much stuff since I had it built in 2015, and it's still hanging in there. This thing's a champ. So anyway, that is the obligatory computer update. Hopefully, I won't have to give you too many more of those in the near future, but that's where that's sitting. So that's that. Like I said, there's a few events happening in January. We have CES happening this week. We have ATIA, which is happening toward the end of the month. Now, ATIA, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be much. I don't know if there's going to be much um, for new announcements. Sometimes you'll get one or two major announcements at ATIA, but usually they wait till either CSUN in like March, or they'll wait for the summer conferences. Now, I did see a brief tweet from APH earlier this week. They announced this. They're calling it the Monarch, and this is that 10 by 30 Braille cells tablet. So a multi-line Braille display, which and you can do graphics and text with it. I don't know exactly what the release date is going to be. I don't know what the price is going to be, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's not going to be cheap because Braille never is. Um, but from the little pictures or little screens I've seen of it, it looks okay. Let me actually see if I can pull up. Let me just pull up. Um, I don't know how to spell monarch. I'm just going to put monarch. Let me just look up APH. If I can't find it right away, I'm just going to move on. But I didn't think to... Let me turn magnifier on for a moment here. Just a little bit of live. APH is ready for Braille. Let's see if this... Let me see if... No, that's an older one. Shoot. Oh well. Anyway, but yeah, like I said, I think we're going to see more of that pretty soon. So there's a couple different, and I want to like, I don't know if I'm guessing APH is probably partnering with like Humanware again or something, because it seems very similar to, I can't remember what Humanware is going to be calling theirs, or there was another one. There's another Braille tablet that was recently announced that they were talking about. And I know what APH loves to do, and I don't quite get it. But like, they don't really make a lot of their own things. They basically take stuff from Humanware or from another company, make a couple minor modifications or something to it, brand it, give it a whole new name, like it's theirs, and then they just like they'll sell it. Um, and then I think it's mainly like so they can get it through schools and stuff. But like just just be a reseller, just sell Humanware stuff, or whoever you partner with. Like, I don't know why you always have to, because people ask, have you heard of this? And it's like, oh, no, that's the same exact thing as this other model or this other device over here. But they've been doing that for years, so I'm not quite sure why they just rebrand everything to their own. Um, but like I said, for Braille displays, and especially for math, for science, for things where, there's diagrams or equations, I'm glad I have the vision I do have, because I would write things down or use large print or whatever, and I would, in college, I worked with a friend of mine. We had our algebra and our physics classes and statistics together, and he did all of it on a Braille writer, because that was just the easiest way to do the alignment and, multiple lines and stuff. And like, oh, I couldn't even imagine. Like, I know you can do it, but he has far more patience than I do. So, as I said, I was very glad to have the limited vision that I do just to get through that. So I think, like I said, especially if this can be halfway affordable, I'm very curious to see where these Braille tablets are going to go in the next couple of years, and see what kind of availability and all that people will have for them. So looking forward to learning more about that. Um, I'm trying to think of what else. I think those are the main two events of January. The other thing that I'm looking forward to comes out next weekend on the 15th. I wish it was this weekend. Man, I wish it was this weekend. The Last of Us TV series. And I want to say, what is it, HBO Max? I think it might be on. I'd have to double check. But I know it's on a service that I get, and I'm pretty sure it's HBO Max. But I'm very curious, as a huge fan of The Last of Us 1 and 2, now that both are totally blind accessible on the PlayStation 5. Um, just some of my just some of my favorite games of the last several years. If not ever. I mean, just the story, the gameplay is good, and then just so much accessibility features, not just for blind, but like just it's so impressive how much accessibility they put into those games. And now we're getting, because now it's like, oh, just like everybody else who enjoyed the game, blind and visually impaired players can be like, hey, we can watch this series and we can, enjoy it on the same level, having experienced the games for ourselves. So I will definitely be binging the hell out of that next weekend. Um, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing where they go with it. I'm purposely pretty much avoiding any sort of like, there's been a lot of little short YouTube videos with the creators or, clips and things. I'm like, nope, I don't want to see any more than I already have. I saw a trailer. It will be weird seeing other people as Joel and Ellie, but I get it. You got to have different people in your live action series than you do playing the voice actors for the game characters. But I'm curious to see like what kind of liberties they take with it, and like I said, it still seems like it's going to be good. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But on to the main event. Like I said, I think I covered most things. I covered my channel, my computer stuff, consoles, events coming up. If there's any cool news, I will definitely try to be sure to cover those and let you guys know. But during the Consumer Electronics Show this week, Sony announced Project Leonardo. Not sure why they called it that or why they named it that, but I don't know. It sounds kind of cool. I was thinking, I don't know, either like the first two things that come to mind are either Leonardo da Vinci or Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles. And my first thought was, well, if we're going Ninja Turtles, let's make it Donnie, man, because Donnie's the tech nerd. Project Donatello. But anyway, um, yeah, so Microsoft had their adaptive controller in what was it, 2018? Somewhere around there. I think it was like right around 2018 or so. Well, Sony has finally joined the fray, and that's really, really cool because with all the other accessibility work that, a lot of their first party studios have done, whether it's The Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man, um, just a lot of their stuff. Here we go. I pulled up their page here, and this is what it looks like. It's kind of, it's like it's a round shape. There's a big button in the middle that seems to be like that has the square shape on it for like the square button. But then all around the big button, there are smaller, but still seemingly fairly large buttons for all of your different buttons, like your left and right trigger, your triangle, your circle, your X, and then on one end of it, you have a little analog stick. And that is what the controller looks like. It matches the whole PS5 kind of black and white. You've got the black um, analog stick or dark gray to black. You've got the big black middle button. All the other ones are white. The buttons that circle around it are white. Let's go down a little bit. So now here's where it gets interesting because remember, I have never really used other than I've never bought or had a need for the Microsoft adaptive controller, but I did end up going to see one in a Microsoft store, and I saw it at the Game Accessibility Conference as well. But that thing was pretty huge. That one has the two large black buttons. It's kind of funny because they both have this white and black and white color scheme to it. But the Microsoft one, it's got the two buttons and then it's just got all those jacks. for switches or knobs or analog sticks or whatever you want to plug into it via those headphone jacks. And so it's super, super customizable. Sony's taken a little bit different approach. And like I said, they have the analog stick and then they have the big button with the smaller buttons around it. And this picture here, they have a picture of the DualSense controller, and then they have two of these Project Leonardo controllers, these adaptive controllers, and they are like, one on the left, one on the right. And so they're not much bigger than, they're roughly, I would say, pretty close to the size of a DualSense controller, a little bit bigger. They're a little rounder, they're a little bit bigger, but they're a little bit smaller than I kind of thought they would be originally, which in some ways is really good. Because I remember even somebody saying on Twitter, they're like, "Oh, that's great," because the Microsoft controller, when I tried to use it, it was really huge. But then I'm thinking for people that don't have a wide range of motor ability, is hitting some of these smaller buttons clustered around this center button here, how is that going to be? Now, Sony, they did say that they have worked with um, people with disabilities, consultants, players, that kind of a thing. So there has been, they didn't design this in a vacuum. They actually worked with people with mobility impairments, people with disabilities to do this, to develop this. But so that's a picture of how it compares size-wise to the DualSense controller. There is a video here. I think it's just some testimonials things. We might play it here. I don't know if we'll get copyrighted for it, but screw it, I don't care. So here's another picture of it. It shows kind of like your buttons here. That's pretty cool. Now this is pretty cool too. They're showing a bunch of different ways that you can use it. So if you have a dead simple game, you could use it with one controller by itself. You can pair it with, you can use an adaptive controller with a DualSense. You can use two adaptive controllers together, or you can use two adaptive controllers and a DualSense. So you're probably thinking, why the heck would you do that? Because they've also included kind of a co-pilot type of feature similar to how Xbox did, which is great because I know people have been wanting that forever on Sony's side. So you could have somebody again, somebody has a mobility impairment, they're using this Project Leonardo adaptive controller, and you have somebody else using a DualSense. You could have somebody else controlling part of the game, and then the part that the person using the adaptive controller was doing, they could do whatever they could, and they could use them both at the same time. That's awesome. That's excellent. So the other thing that I like is just like the Microsoft adaptive controller, you see down here, this picture, they've got these little ports. They're little headphone jack ports. And apparently these, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about switch controls. I mean, I've seen them in several different instances, but I am by no means, I don't know, like I said, I don't know much about switch control stuff at all. But I guess these headphone jack type ports are pretty industry standard for those. And so I'm glad that, let's say you have somebody who wants or who needs these controllers, and if they have both systems, at least if you have switches or other types of controls that are compatible with these headphone jack uh, ports, they would be able to interchange those and use them with both their Microsoft and their Sony controller. So that's pretty sweet. I don't know when this is coming out. I don't know what the price is going to be. If I had to guess, I'm hoping it's not more than $100. I would hope it's actually cheaper. I mean, a DualSense is what, $80? I want to say, or give or take. I guess I haven't priced one out because I haven't had to. And then Sony recently just announced I forget what basically their pro version of the DualSense controller, and that sucker's like $200. I mean, yeah, it looks pretty cool, but yeah, no. I mean, the DualSense is plenty good enough for me for now. Um, but yeah, that is Project Leonardo. So both Microsoft and Sony now have an adaptive controller. And again, with the work that both companies are doing, um, that is awesome because now we have hardware and software. We have built-in console accessibility on both. Now we have adaptive controllers for both. I don't know if this controller is also going to be compatible natively or if you're going to have somebody third party making some sort of mod to make it work with the PC. Um, I would love to see that also be compatible with the PC because that would be really cool, especially with a lot of Sony's first party titles starting to come to the PC. Last of Us Part 1, thank you very much. So I don't know, I'm not sure about that either. I mean, as far as Microsoft and Sony go, I think, we're in a pretty good spot for both. Sony, the main thing that they really need to improve, and I was using their app like literally last night or the night before, they have a screen reader on their PlayStation 5, and it generally works really well. Their PlayStation app generally works quite well on iOS. However, Sony, you got to learn what alt tags are. Please, for the love of God, learn what an alt tag is because there are so many things in the app. When I'm looking at a game, when I'm looking at like specials, or I'm looking there are tons of areas where you just get gibberish or you get really long, goofy strings of text. Sony, you got to do better. You have the screen reader, just make sure that your content adheres to standards so that it'll work with that better. That's what Sony needs to learn. Microsoft, they're generally pretty good. I haven't had too many alt text problems with their stuff. But what Microsoft needs, they have the adaptive controller, they have a good screen reader. It works great, actually. But Microsoft just needs the games, accessible or not. I mean, the last couple of years, we've had past several years, we've had like all these buyouts and, oh, we bought this company, we bought that company, we're merging with this, and we got Bethesda, we're getting maybe Activision, I don't know. But other than like Forza and Halo Infinite, like the last couple of years have been pretty dry. And as far as blind accessibility goes, like As Dusk Falls is fantastic. Highly, highly recommend it. The Veil, great game. But it's something like The Last of Us level. Um, they really don't have any major blind accessible games. I mean, I mean, Forza kind of is, but I wouldn't even say that's quite there yet because again, a lot of like I don't know if they've improved it yet, but I know that some of the, what do they call it, Anna, their navigation system, in the game, it didn't read everything, so they weren't able to always get to missions or objectives or waypoints or what have you. Um, and even the driving, like it's sort of like, oh, it follows the road, and as long as you hit the accelerator, it kind of drives itself, it steers itself. Microsoft doesn't have that huge showcase, totally accessible title. Like, again, I'm going to say The Last of Us. I mean, God of War is close. God of War did some really, really neat things. But as far as some of the blind accessibility stuff, I think, like I said, I said it in later videos last year. As cool as God of War is, I still have trouble with certain mechanics or certain navigation issues in that game. So it's not quite up to where The Last of Us is, but like I said, it's damn close. I mean, I commend them for the work that they have done because they did also do some things that are really nice. But yeah, Microsoft just needs their games. They just need games, period. And hopefully we're going to, in the next 12 months, we're going to get some of those buyouts. Hopefully that'll start paying off and we're going to get some of these games. And I hope to God that some of them are finally blind accessible because I want Microsoft to have their showcase title, just like The Last of Us 1 and 2 that Sony has. I want there to be some more accessible games on the Xbox so everyone can have choices and games to play. So before we wrap up here, I don't know exactly what this video is. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty short, but let's just play it.
Game accessibility to me means connection.
That allows everyone to enjoy the stories that we create.
If there wasn't accessibility in gaming, it would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, for people like myself to play.
Trying to figure out if I know who these are.
It always will be about the games.
For some folks, it means being able to play a game comfortably. For others, it dictates whether that game is going to be able to be played and enjoyed at all.
Absolutely.
So playing games was a very personal experience for me because it allowed me to kind of play sports and engage in things that I really couldn't do as a kid.
The greatest part about the new PlayStation controller is it's designed from the ground up to be not standard.
The controller that PlayStation has developed offers the flexibility for the person to figure out how they would like to play and how best suits them during that stage in their life.
Really, this new controller is a toolbox.
You'll be able to layer different buttons. You'll be able to move different buttons around so that you can make sure that you're hitting the right button combinations.
The main thing I really liked was the way you could bridge over two.
I don't know if they're going to show anything of the controller here.
To press two buttons at the same time. It was just one.
I'm somebody who needs to lay a controller flat and be able to use more of my hand in order to control any kind of controller.
I was able to finally incorporate my left hand back into gaming, which is something that I hadn't done really successfully since childhood.
To have such a powerhouse partner like Sony take on that venture with this project is truly monumental.
We're really excited to see the impact of the controller on helping to make access to gaming available to many more people.
My dream is to be able to affect accessibility at the platform holder level. I can't wait to see what the community is going to do with this once they get their hands on it.
This controller is a big part of what it means to create accessibility, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it because it's life-changing, not just for me, but for so many people in the world.
Okay. Project Leonardo.
PlayStation,
indeed. Yeah, I mean, it was a feel-good video. And I'm glad they showcased people. A lot of the people that's going to affect or impact. That's awesome. But I kind of wish they would have had even like a few-minute clip or a couple-minute clip on, just like I said, showing. I'm sure that'll come eventually, and people will do their reviews of it and such. But it would have been cool just to see a developer of the controller talking about it in like a short video like that. But so yeah, there you go. Only 6 days into the year, and we're already getting some good news. We've pretty interesting CES. Like there's of course all the wacky technology, all the new TVs and car stuff and gadgets and who knows what other weird stuff, but a big accessibility announcement even at the Consumer Electronics Show. That's pretty darn cool. So hopefully I didn't miss anything. I think I covered everything I wanted to here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Definitely check out some of the earlier videos. Might go to the recent videos area and just see what you might have missed if you were away for the holidays or whatever, took a break. Lots of good stuff there. End of the year, my little hardware review for the for the Analog Pocket and a bunch of other things, couple accessible games and everything. So, and if you missed it, I forgot to mention, I'm really, really proud, really happy with how well this interview turned out. Aaron Spelker, I've mentioned him on the channel before because I did an interview with him early last year. I think it was like first third of the year or so with Aaron on game accessibility. And he invited me back, excuse me, hiccups. He invited me back as part of a panel with him, Liam Irvin, and Mike. I forget what your last name is. Sorry, Mike. Um, yeah, there was the four of us, and we had kind of an end of year panel. We just talked about gaming, accessibility. We kind of asked each other some questions. It was just a really fun all around interview. We had a lot of great conversation, mentioned some great accessibility projects throughout the year. Had some really fun discussion just on games in general and supporting developers and just being a content creator and what all that stuff is like. And like I said, I was having a blast during that panel, and like I said, I just think it turned out like so well. So if you missed that, it is under. I should have added it. I did add it to my playlists under the podcasts, interviews, and presentations playlist. But if you just look up Aaron, Aaron Spelker, Spelker, you'll find it on his channel as well. But it links to his channel under my playlist. So, and like I said, check out some of his other videos because he interviews game developers of a lot of your favorite accessible games that have come out recently. Be they PC or especially mainly iOS stuff, but like if you have a recent game that you maybe want to learn more about, he's done interviews with them. He's done interviews with other content creators like myself and Liam and Mike and just a whole bunch of things. So yeah, he really deserves more views and subscribers than he has right now. So like again, I would definitely go check him out and support all these guys' work. So with that, that is where we will wrap up the video today. Hopefully, again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.